90210 fans, are you ready to dive deep? Episode by episode, storyline by storyline, character by character, as we break down the making of your favorite zip code. With your hosts, Charles Rose, Perrie Samotin,
heinous thing about the real person, and we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
Pete Ferrero,
and growing up, my TV crush is Claire Arnold. So I mean, she has to come on the show at this point.
fashion guru Perrie
She was
Samotin,
like 25 or something. And what the hell? She looked so old.
like so many special guests, and all your questions. Live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Whoops. We are here live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show, figuring out a few things. Just to let everyone know up top, we might have a Wings Hauser sort of Jonesy entrance because we haven't been able to hear from him. So we don't know if he's going to be with us.
He's in the music studio.
He's in a music studio. James Whitmore Jr. is in the air, and we'll say why that ties in. But we do have Carrie and Noley here, and David Hayward is trying to get in here. So those things are happening. But at the top of this show, some of you might be coming to us for the first time because you saw an interview that I did with the director of the season 8 episode Making Amends. I'm going to show that clip about Jessica Alba's experience, and I felt I had to find out the truth on that. And Chuck suggested, well, ask the director. So here's a clip of that conversation. Well, she says now on Hot Ones that she had a rule that said that she was not allowed to make eye contact with any of the main actors on the show. Had you ever heard that rule?
I had not. But I'm not saying, it's very possible somebody could have said that to her, either seriously or not. I can't imagine who it would have been. It certainly wasn't one of the cast. And I can't even imagine. The only other people might have been an AD or maybe somebody in the makeup and hair trailer. But I don't doubt that she heard that somehow. But I certainly was never aware of it. You certainly never saw that on the set anyway.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, well, you directed scenes with Jenny and Jessica. Was there anything like that? I'm sure it's doubtful.
No.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. To my knowledge, again, like I said, I don't doubt that somebody said that to Jessica if she says somebody said that
Sure.
to her. But it's, you can look at the scenes and she was just terrific in them. She was.
Everybody has sort of pointed this to maybe an AD. Would an AD say something like that to Jessica? Doubtful.
I mean, like I say, she may have heard that somehow. Who knows? It could have been maybe even before she ever came to 90210 when she was cast in the part. For all I know, somebody else was messing with her. But to my knowledge, that certainly wasn't a rule on the set by any means.
Okay, so I went to that and we pulled Noley and Carrie briefly because we're going to talk a little bit about this. Larry, you're probably the one I should ask about this. You were not there at season 8. But you were there season 7. What is your take on this whole Jessica Alba debacle?
It's long running shows have hazing. That much I can tell you. There might be urban legend. It might have come out from the Atmosphere people where they're kind of bothering the stars trying to get pictures, and second AD might not want to have a problem, so they would say that. But no one is going to tell the guest star that. That makes no sense at all. It's she was being punked.
And Chuck, did the story surprise you that people would be acting that way? The cast.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the difference between there was I imagine, Larry, that there was a different dynamic on the set in season 7 than there was in season
people
5.
didn't want to be there.
Okay, so let's understand that I've always said that, and when we talk about it, sometimes the people who were there, because they didn't want to be there at that moment, there's ambivalence when you think back to it. They're good things and good memories, but you know,
They're doing
what else
a
is
job.
there?
Everyone's doing their job. You don't sometimes have to like it. You're just doing your job, and Jessica
Yeah.
should be doing her job too.
Yes,
Shouldn't
I hope
really
she
worry. It's not a
clarified
party.
that.
It's a job. It's a set. It's not a party.
Jessica Alba, come on the show. Let's talk about it. I'll get you something better than wings.
Did you see those? Did you see those comments that they said that went across the screen? I knew they would be talking about this.
Yes, I know. Well, we have to.
What does that mean?
I think that they kind of this is the show where you get all this kind of information now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Perrie is joining our show now. This is exciting to have you here. So welcome to the Beverly Hills 90210 show. We're excited to have you join us talking about some fashion. And I know you're a diehard fan, so you'll be able to add some input. Now, I am wearing a shirt. I want to happen to my life. I don't want my life to happen to me. This is a Luke Perry shirt. And it is in the store, the Beverly Hills 90210 showshop.com. You can get it. And anything that we raise from that shirt sale, we're going to donate to a charity to be named later. So those are things that are happening. Now, let's talk about Hazardous to Your Health. Chuck, there's a lot to talk about here about E. Duke Vincent, right?
Well, the episode as contained, as executed, would not be without Aaron Spelling's partner, E. Duke Vincent. And, you know, I've always said, you know, it's an Aaron Spelling show, but when you never run a television show, you got to kind of learn, you know, how are you going to learn? And, you know, it is a kind of a school of hard knocks unless you have a mentor. And Duke was that to me, but extremely pissed off that was his role he had to have. And he was very volatile. And, you know, Spelling, you have to understand here, they make the pilot. They're not in love with what they make. Duke confirmed. I got to speak to Duke, Peter. I mean, I'm talking about him in the past tense. You know Larry and Peter, but I got him on the phone, courtesy of our unit production manager, John Perret. Thank you, John. And we had a wonderful talk because I invited him to come on our special.
Right.
And he acknowledged in that conversation, not with any malice, but that, you know, this was not a Spelling, you know, episode. This was not what Duke Vincent did. Duke Vincent did Vegas. Duke Vincent did what, you know, any actions, Matt Houston, you know, whatever there it was. And that was when he was the supervising. But by that point, but he rose. Yeah, Vegas was the show that, in fact, in that conversation I just had with him, when he talked about why he wouldn't come on and talk about the old days with us, because he said, because then I'd have to do it with Vegas. So that was his other show. I think he was really proud of that one. It was a big location show for them as well. But, you know, when we need to get the money back, we need to start wrapping this subplot up now that because we've opened it up, that indeed, you know, that you know, Wings Hauser, his character, has delivered. And, you know, so it's good. We're going to go somewhere. We're going to go to Mexico. And, you know, the assumption for me at that point was that we were going to go back to Malibu, where we effectively shot Dylan and Brenda's little surfing rendezvous when she gets stuck on the other side of the border, with other kind of places that they'd make work in Southern California. And Duke walked down the hall and came out to the valley, and he had other ideas. And Larry, I hand it to you.
Yeah, well, all of a sudden, you know, as it turns out that, well, maybe we should bring other people in.
Let's bring in some of the scoundrels that were a part of this scam.
But it's good we saw pictures of Duke. Hey,
right?
David. All right, and all right, there they are, the Swindler 3.
Go.
Except for, you know,
let's move Noli here.
Union. Oh my goodness, it's so good to see you.
Yeah. This must be nice for you, Carrie. Before we came on live, you saw Noli and you were taken aback for a second, weren't you?
She's grown up and beautiful. I don't know what I was saying. My little girl. And you were so easy to be a mom to. You're such a sweetheart, and I can tell you still are. We had a good time. And David, we were like co-conspirators, criminals, but we weren't very good at it to get caught so easily.
We were. I feel I was blinded by love.
I think lust would be more appropriate.
Well,
No, because Tiffany is not here. She should be here.
Oh, that's okay. It's just lovely to reunite and see you thriving as you both are. It's lovely. Wow.
I'm curious for you, Noley, what were these two like? You worked with them a lot back in the day. What was it like working with David and Kerrie?
They were great. I mean, Kerrie and I had a pretty good relationship, and I think David and I always felt like there was something like a scam going on there. So we had our relationship wasn't quite as warm, but we had a good time working together. Yeah, for sure.
That's really awesome. Yeah. All right, Larry, let's get into this now, this Mexico thing and going to Mexico.
Oh, okay. Well, before, we wrote the script for Mexico. And then, as Chuck said, it turns out we're going to shoot it in Mexico. In fact, we're going to shoot it in Cabo, which, we all love Cabo. And Duke has a friend, I think his name is Marco, Chuck. Was that?
Marco sounds good.
Marco, who happened to own the Palmilla, which was a just beginning and looking to brand itself, and was, Duke was trying to help out a friend. And not only that, Marco.
Because, one of the things is that LA at this time was kind of still going through a recession in the early 90s, and that affected the whole growth of Cabo. They were building new hotels. The Westin went down there in a big hotel. I think Ian Ziering actually was there at promoting it on the opening and on a jet ski, I remember. So it was downscale. Now it's the one and only Palmilla, and the cheapest room is $1,000 a night. Cheapest.
Yeah, and we were, like I said, so that was the story. So we were going to be able to go down there, and not only that, Marco, as it turned out, was an ex-Blue Angel pilot, and then Duke also had some high pilot credentials. He had his own plane, which was a King Air.
Oh, he was a Blue Angel too.
I'm not so sure. He kind of fudged that a bit. He might have been adjacent, Blue Angel adjacent, perhaps. But right. Marco was a Blue Angel, and Duke was a pilot and had his own plane, which was a King Air, which is a fabulous private plane. Anyway, so now we got to go down there, the location scout, and we're going down there. And I'm pretty sure in the group we had some a location man we didn't really know. J.P. Perrie, Whitmore, and Paul, and I. And we went down there, and, they opened the Palmilla up. It was a fabulous thing. We had so many great locations. And then we had to go home. And that was the bad part. But I wish Whitmore was here just to make sure that my nightmares had ended. But basically, there was when we were driving to the airport, I don't want to say that there had been we had come off a lunch. And so a lunch, usually when you have a lunch in Mexico by the beach, as people know, there's big glasses of things. Right. And sometimes people drink these things, not me, but other people.
Right.
Anyway, so we're going to the airport and we're rushing there. And I'm pretty sure I'm talking to Paul. I'm saying, geez, I mean, we're really going to go out? I mean, it's like gunmetal gray and there's like thunder. And we get to the airport and we rush into the plane, and meanwhile, Paul says to me, "Don't worry, JP's already been in an airport, a plane crash. It can't happen twice." I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks. Gee, that's comforting. That's really comforting." I was like the designated scared person. That's why I want to have Whitmore here. Now, as we're getting the plane, we're hearing all the radio calls, people saying, "I'm sitting this one out. I'm sitting this one out. I'm sitting this one out." And Marco goes, "Rock and roll. We're going." As we take off, lightning strikes the tower of the Cabo airport. And now we're climbing, and we're literally an arm's length from an anvil cloud for the next 3 minutes of terror, of absolute terror. And we make it out of there, and then literally, I don't know if they were shitting their pants or not, but they apologized so profusely for risking our lives to get back. Anyway, I will say nothing more, but I wish Whitmore was here to hold my hand.
That is.
But I think it's a really good example of what it was like to work for the spelling company.
Yes.
You put yourself at risk if you walk down the set.
Now, how did you guys get to Mexico?
By train, I think they took it.
No, it was kind of exciting, I would think, getting to go down there.
Yeah.
It was great.
Isn't it
Yeah,
interesting to
great.
hear it from another point of view? Because as actors, I don't know about you, but we were just treated like gold. I mean, every time I worked on a spelling project, I mean, it was like a party, and you were just treated like gold. And so knowing some of these backstories now is so fascinating, because didn't we all just travel to Cabo with these beautiful rooms, and we could wave to each other from the balconies?
Wow. So everyone was staying at the Palmilla, basically.
Yeah, we were all there. It was like going to camp, only in a resort.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
The only thing I remember about filming in Mexico was going to the beach, having fun. Also, actually, I remember Tiffany. I don't know if it was you, Larry. Tiffany convinced somebody to let us take a car. We were in Cabo, so we went downtown Cabo. She got. Was it you, Larry?
No, because I was only there for the location scout. We had to go back and write other things.
She got somebody from production to let us take a car in town. We went dancing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was in junior high, so it was early night, but it was fun. It was fun. It was a fun week.
I do remember there was a place called Squid Row. And that seems to be the place where all the bars were, where the girls were kind of like. And I remember I used that for the Palm Springs show, where these girls would walk around in cowboy boots and little cowboy outfits, and they squirt tequila into your mouth with a little kind of a gun kind of thing.
David, I'm curious for you. Did you know? We talked with Carrie, and she didn't know from the start. We talked a little bit about this just now, but she didn't know that you guys were scoundrels or that you were doing this to Dylan. Did you know that initially?
You know, I can't remember. I knew pretty early on, but I'm not sure. I think we were told, but boy, I can't remember. It's more than a couple weeks ago. So.
Yeah.
I'm really glad this is the episode.
and Noley, on the Super Show, you told us that you did know that.
Yeah, I always kind of sensed that, and there were just a couple things here and there that made me kind of suspicious, I guess. And I think by the time David came on the show, I think that I was already clued into it. So, but at first, yeah, I guess the first few episodes that Carrie and I were on, I don't know that was apparent to everybody. But yeah, there were just a couple things written in there, like, you know, I don't know if Carrie said something like we rehearsed this or we went over this, and not that you don't go over stuff with your children, you do definitely, but
Sure.
it was getting a little off, and I always felt like it wasn't real.
Right.
Well, we wanted to put that in the first episodes when you came at Christmas and all that. Was this okay? And if you remember, Jim Walsh was very suspicious, and but once he signed off and everything was normalized, and you were clearly close, and you were working at the Peach Pit, the hope is that by the time David stepped in, that they wouldn't even equate, you wouldn't put the elements together. And Larry and I, we talk about this, David. It's that moment where Luke's push saves you from getting killed by a bus.
Vital signs.
Even though that was not part of your scam, at the same time, it completely alleviates you from being a culprit because of that moment that you have together. It's almost unthinkable that you could be that big of a cat.
Yeah, you turn it on him. I remember the line you say to him is that because he saves you, but you say you just made a friend for life.
Made a friend for life.
Stuck with you. It's really good. It was in the episode, I think, Vital Signs. I think.
Do you remember that scene, David?
Absolutely. That was I think it was the first scene I shot.
Oh, of course.
Welcome to the show. Yeah.
We were in rehearsal, and somebody I think that was supposed to be watching out for Luke's well-being walked up to me and said, "Excuse me, sir, I notice you keep trying to get next to Mr. Perrie." And I said, I'm supposed to. I'm leaving the show. And he was apologetic, but there's that moment of, God, I'm really casting a big shadow here.
And you all were able to make eye contact, right? I'm just kidding. So Chuck, I'm curious. You decide to write this Mexico episode, right? We're gonna get Dylan's money back. This must be exciting for you guys to come back and do this episode. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about writing this for Chuck and Larry?
Well, Larry can talk about the writing and all the way, because this was really, we were dividing up. I don't know exactly what came right after this or the next one, but sure. By this point, those plays in a football game when the time's running out and you're just lateraling back and forth and trying to move up the field. We had 32 episodes. This one was like, what was it, 19, 20? Okay, let's keep going. It was. You really didn't have time to pause, and I didn't. I think both of you would say this, and only because you were a young girl, but we didn't hang out. We cast. I would say pass by, but we were immersed and
sure.
making all these episodes, and that was it. But in terms of the production, the funny thing, the loop with Duke is, what Duke really taught me was the fear of God of going over budget.
Right.
And, and it was really some of the real triumphs in those first 12 when the lowest license fee in television was that the episode was under budget. We didn't go over time, all the good stuff. And he really inculcated that in me, so that every year, the 4 years prior to this one, we always were under budgeted by the end of the season. We always did good. Not every episode cost the same, but we were able always to be under the limbo bar.
Right.
And now we get to season 5, and I'm doing the best I've ever done. We have a little more padding, which is why, but nonetheless, we're going under budget. Duke gets the idea that he can go down to Cabo and play with his friend Marco and bring him business, because they were used to go marlin fishing down there, and that's what you used to do down there. And I want to talk about that marlin a little later, but the episode is all the savings that are made in season 5 completely wiped out, and then some, right. And so it was like, okay, we got to go back up the hill. We were able to stay under budget, but not in the same way. But this was the most expensive episode. This was the no holds barred. Did a lot of the crew, did we pick up crew there? Did we fly everybody down?
Yes. No, not everybody. We had another crew there. We did, which is why we had this other location manager who kind of also wrangled all the other stuff. I remember in the writing of it, I did a lot of research about Cabo, and that whole pirate angle just kind of spoke to me, and that's what I turned in, and it comes out as kind of fun little thing. But I mean, having Jonesy, which was a character which was established a couple of episodes before that, this friend of Christine Pettit's, and then getting Wings Hauser wherever he is, just really elevated the authenticity of this show. I mean, then it really felt like it was like an adventure show, and Luke was in the middle of it. He was so willing to jump into that stuff, but it was nicely how it all tied up and stuff.
And didn't Luke was the one who suggested it had to be Wings Hauser. It wasn't just we're doing an audition for someone like Wings Hauser.
We certainly didn't audition.
It's Wings Hauser, Now I looked at all of Wings' credits, because I just wanted to see, did they ever work it? What was he doing at the point of this? He was doing everything. He was an action TV guy. He had but also, since the 80s was on Young and Restless all the time. So they did have a daytime Bond that maybe their paths crossed, or the kind of movies that they had done. But they wanted Wings, and like so much of me getting to do these podcasts with Pete and Larry, I get to see the episodes again. And and what I'm usually really always really impressed with are the performances, and Wings is that true. I remember going it, he was just a, it was like a not a pawn. I don't mean to say it like that, but just, a cog, get this done. But when you get to sit back and see it all these years later, all of you brought so much to what you were doing, as did he.
Great.
And he also brought a lot of empty bottles.
I want to ask Carrie, because I know you're limited with us, so I wanted to ask you. You said before we came on that you had some really great memories shooting down there in Mexico. What are some of the memories that you have of doing this?
Well, I think the shoot was fun because, first of all, talk about Wings. I mean, he was so much fun. I'd never met him before, but I had some fabulous conversations with him. I loved the character he created. And so there was wonderful energy on the sets, and lots to play. There was some real great tension and things like the complexity of still pretending to be innocent and yet knowing what was going on inside. So, I mean, for actors, that's always the best. And I just love the whole situation of us being at camp together. I had done a series where we all kind of traveled together, and crew and cast all in the same place. I just think that creates the best sort of shooting situation. So just having balconies where you could, wave to Noley or Tiffany, or like, it was, I just thought the whole thing, maybe I just needed a really good vacation, which it wasn't.
It was great. I like that Wings came in and checked everybody's room out. He had to be sure everybody had a good room.
It was really fun. I'm so sorry we're missing him tonight. But watching that again, I remember just what a fabulous character he created.
Yeah.
It was great. It was so good to bounce off of.
So, yeah. Exactly.
Hey, Noley, I'm curious for you. Do you have any memories of going down to Mexico and shooting this episode?
Well, going dancing downtown is my number one memory, my favorite memory. But no, I mean, I just remember going to that beautiful hotel was really nice. But going to the beach, I had a couple off days too when I was down there. So just hanging out with, I guess, Luke's wife at the time on the beach. And we did some scenes on the street in Mexico too. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Who were you with your mother? Were you with your mother down there?
Yeah, my mom always came with me. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And for Carrie, while we have you here, and I know we've talked about this before, but working with Luke, obviously this one of the reasons why we did this show is, Luke's birthday would have been on Sunday, and he would have been 54. So we did a very special show regarding that. I'm just curious what it was like for you working with him.
Well, he was incredibly generous and always took time to make us all, I think, feel welcome and part of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he really, and I mean, most of my work amongst the cast was with Luke, but I just very quickly, he made it you feel like you belonged and that you were really part of the cast. And David Wright, he just absolutely doing so much work as a guest star. A lot of times you feel like the odd man out when you come onto a set. Luke welcomed you like you've been on the show since the beginning. He made it so easy. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Noley, what about you working with Luke?
I was thinking of him over the weekend. I was celebrating my daughter's birthday, and I was thinking of him and his family. What was it like? He was just such a down-to-earth, such a humble person, and always so kind, so warm. He just made such an impression on my life, and I wanted to emulate that. And it was just, I feel so lucky to have spent the time I did with him. He's a good guy.
Yeah. That's really awesome to hear. I'm curious, Larry, there's this great scene. Let me see if I can pull this. This is a great Wings scene. Hang on, let's see. Hopefully this works.
Look, thanks for coming.
No problem. It'll be fun.
I don't know about that, but I do appreciate it.
I should have made you beg.
Fowler, cut the distractions. You and I got a date with the Cavendishes for cocktails. Now let's go.
I'm all yours.
Thank you.
Hey, what am I supposed to do?
I would suggest you find some very large checkers.
Oh man, I love that.
You missed it, Larry. You wrote a good scene.
You were great.
My dog was going crazy. Sorry.
It's okay. The checkers thing. So you scouted that and you wrote that in there for
Yes, because when we did, I mean, that's part of the fun of when you get to go on location. You get to really modify your script to really, sell what's going on there. And, that Palmilla, they gave us the full run of the place. And it was just, I mean, plus I got my other hobby in there, which I was glad to see. And Chuck knows this. I collect sea glass all around the world. So there's this whole sea glass, which becomes a secret code between Erica and Dylan. I was very happy to see that. I had forgotten about it.
Yeah, that was a great little plot. Very, very Mullen-esque.
Yes, I had forgotten that. In fact, I brought sea glass back from there.
Do you remember doing those scenes, Noley, with the whole sea glass bit with Luke and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, totally. And I remember playing chess on that board outside the room too. Yeah, that was fun.
That's awesome. Noley, what was it like working with Tiffany? And I'm going to ask both Carrie and David that as well.
She was really sweet. I just worked with her on just that one episode because I was on season 4 mostly. So I did get to work with Shannon and Tiffany, but she was a really sweet person. I had so much fun with her. She took me alongside, took me down to downtown dancing, and I had a great time with her. I ran into her. I went to film school. Went to film school, and we both had short films in the Palm Springs Film Festival a while back, and I ran into her. It was good to see her. She had a good little short too.
Hey, how about you, Carrie?
Tiffany was one, I think, the balcony right beside me. So we used to have great morning conversations, and I found her very delightful, lots of fun. I believe maybe she was the instigator of all the partying, because I remember her taking us, I think, to a dinner, and it was the first time I had my head pulled back by the hair, and tequila from down my throat, and I was like, I'll never forget it. It was so shocking. I didn't know the custom was such, but I think Tiffany might have invited me to that. So I think she was, I found her so lovely, and again, very welcoming.
Yeah. How about you, David? You had some good stuff with Tiffany.
I did, but the character didn't lend itself, because most of the time I spent with her was on set, and I was kind of a creepy older guy, so it was hard to get, warm and fuzzy together.
Right.
But, she was great to work with, but I didn't really get to know her beyond the on-screen relationship, really.
I got a question for David. So this is more like a real life question. So you always were taught, your character was always talking about the ocean and the water and the beach. And I find out you work near the beach, right?
Yeah,
Are you
I did.
a beach guy?
I also live
in the ocean? Are you an ocean person?
I do surf, actually.
Very cool.
Oddly enough, and scarily enough.
Me too. I'm on my boogie board still. Well, yes, Larry too.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Charles?
I'm on my boogie board about 3 times a week, and Larry too in summer.
Yeah. Chuck's a real border man.
Perrie, I'm curious for you, watching this show as a fan all those years. We haven't heard from you. It's been 33 minutes. I feel like we should hear your voice.
Hello.
Actually, what was Tiffany wearing?
Yeah. Oh, what do you know?
Wow.
That didn't matter. It was all great. Yeah.
What do you think of this episode?
I mean, I love this episode. This has always been probably in my top 5. It's one of the ones I always go back to just when I rewatch. What I love about it especially is that obviously it's serialized. Like if you watch it on its own, you still need to know some of the backstory, right? But this to me feels like you could sort of watch it on its own, and you can hear somebody could fill you in a little bit, and you would sort of get the picture, unlike a lot of the other episodes where you needed so much backstory, because all the other episodes took place in Beverly Hills. It's very rare, except for the Paris episodes. And maybe Palm Springs or 2. But it's rare that you're really taken out of the Peach Pit, the Walsh House. Yeah. So it's such an interesting thing to see Luke, but other members of the cast that you know and love. I mean, I loved Kevin. I loved Suzanne. I did not know that they were going to be frauds when I was watching in real time. Like most people now would probably watch it and be like, oh, something is going on with them. I did not know that in real time. But now when I watch it back, I'm like, it's so obvious.
How did I miss that?
So obvious. But I mean, I love this episode. I loved the pirate storyline. I loved Wings. I was curious, Larry and Chuck, how much did Wings actually improvise? Because watching it back, so much of that to me so much of his dialogue felt completely improvised.
No.
Nothing?
Really? Wow.
When he was
I was writing for his character. I mean, I knew, we were trying to get this burnout ex-FBI guy, and, it was kind of like obsessing with a girl. I created this whole thing with a girl with the one red shoe who takes off. So now he needs a replacement. That's how we have to get Tiffany down there. Valerie down there.
Yeah, we were. Jason and Ian were going to end scenes where they improv, and bless them, they were very funny, and we almost kept all of them in. They virtually every one, but. Everybody who would get the scripts, we would get our scripts out. You guys, if you remember, you never were waiting on what your next script was going to be. You got it on the day you were supposed to get it when the prep of that episode started. And you would have had, you or any guest star, you got a week. What do you want to change? What do you want to talk to the director about? Not to us, really, because we, by that point, after the first day of prep, we hand the show off to the director. And really at that point, and unless there's something, Milton Berle is on the set, or we're going to blow up a car, we're not around there too much, really, because we're just typing away.
If there was a big change, they would call us up and ask us if it would be all right. The director would go over with the actor, and that would be the procedure, basically. So no, he just played the shit out of it. The whole the video game, man. It's just his intensity.
It sounded so improvised.
No, that was my approach to because I was late to the keyboard, so I approached it like a video game. I
was going to mention this is another time where we're seeing computers on television, probably in a way that we don't usually see it. I mean, you're early
cyber hacking there. We're getting this Cayman Island. We're just shooting it. Whatever. No one questioned it. I made it up, and no one questioned it. So there it was.
Well, he used to be with the FBI, and back then. Before the loony-ness that we live with now, the FBI meant something, and well, then he knows what he's doing. So, of course, we can just...
it made
all I can say from those of you who remember, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was worse.
I have to say
Bye, Carrie.
Oh, yeah, we're going to say goodbye to Carrie. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Carrie.
We'll see you again soon. Yes.
I just love seeing your face, David and Noley, and of course Chuck and Larry and Peter. And welcome, Perrie.
It's great to have you.
Hey, Perrie, it was nice to meet you.
Everybody stay well.
Perrie, can I ask you one question before you go?
Yeah.
Do you still have snakes?
No, they all passed away. All deaths.
No, Carrie, before you go, Pete, can you show her David's clip? You have David's clip?
Okay, let me see.
Available? You have to see one thing.
We did some
David did a clip of where Kevin
they are now
30 years later.
This is where Kevin is 30 years later.
What have I been doing since? Since when? Since I got out, since I broke my knee, since the fire, since I got divorced, since I couldn't get back into Mexico anymore. Since is a long time, brother. Did manage to get back in the water, though. Catch a wave and you're sitting on top of the world. Corniest expression in the world. It is so true. I've never felt a rush like that. Not until Suzanne and I took that cool $8 million from sweet little Dylan. I'll tell you, when we saw those funds transfer into our account, my whole body became alive. Talk about sitting on top of the world. I owned the world. Freedom, brother. For a while. I don't think I thought how tough it would be with the kid. Having to watch your back all the time. But was it worth 3 years in jail for the years I spent living the pirate's life? I'll tell you what, I got out and I said, fair enough, tit for tat. And then reality set in. Who are you? What are you? What are you going to do? There's not a lot of teaching or research jobs for an ex-con in his 40s. But I became a hell of a car salesman. Who'd have guessed it, right? Exotic cars. I hated it. Quit. And then I finally managed to get some of my money out of Mexico. Don't tell Suzanne. And I bought this little shack by the beach. Here I am, sitting on top of the world.
All right, we're going to try this, guys. Hold on, we're going to try this.
Hello? Hello?
Hey, can you guys hear Wings?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Hello, Mr. Hauser.
Unmute your phone.
They can hear you. So why don't we do this, since I don't know that you can hear them. Why don't you talk a little bit about your memories working on the show?
Who am I talking to?
This is Pete.
I have to go, guys. I'm going to go.
Hi, Carrie.
Bye-bye, Carrie.
Hi, Wings.
My name is Wings. So, hello, everybody. I'm sorry I could hear all you guys. I just couldn't talk, which is probably a good thing. But anyhow, what would you like me to do?
Just, talk about, I know you had some memories working on the show. So why don't you just talk a little bit quickly about some of those, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, as soon as you called me, the one memory, I've got several, some are R-rated though, but the one that jumped out immediately was we were shooting this thing in Mexico, right? We're talking about that show, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We were shooting this thing in Mexico. It was what you call a beauty shot. The director and the crew were about 100 feet away. We were on a sand dune, I believe, with the beach behind us and the pinks and the blues, the sunset, not sunset, but it's sparkling kind of shot. And off to the right, I saw, I don't know, maybe 100 feet away, these two real-life Mexican cowboys sitting on two horses. And I just looked at Luke and I said, it'd be great if we were on horseback for this scene, wouldn't it? And he looked over there and went, yeah, that's a good idea. And I asked him if he could ride, and he said, oh, sure, yeah, I can ride. I don't believe he could, but maybe he could. Anyhow, so we go to these two guys who don't speak a word of English. The only thing I ever learned in military school in Spanish from my French teacher was La Pluma es blue. So I mean, we were fighting words. We were trying to get them out of the saddle and let us get in the saddle and take their horses. It was just, so we finally convinced them that we'd give them I think it was $100 a piece. And we convinced them, and then we walked up to the director, which was James Whitmore. Now, you got to figure a director or a producer shooting in a foreign country is totally insane to begin with. I mean, everything goes wrong in a foreign country. But then, you've got this cast of, basically children. I mean, they're a little older than children, I guess, but they were doing things like adults and everything. But it was like herding cats for this director. And here comes Luke Perry and I up with these two horses and go, what do you think? Can we do it with horses? Expecting him to be like, I'm chasing light, I'm fighting everything. You bring me horses. So, but the guy goes, great idea. So we go into the shot. I think we'll walk into the shot on the horses, maybe even galloping, I don't know. But anyhow, right after the shot, my horse is pissed off at me and bucks me. Now, he doesn't buck me off, he bucks me straight up in the air. As I come down, he bucks again and jams the saddle horn right into my chest. I fall off, I can't breathe. I'm dying there. I think I can't get any air.
Oh, man.
with Luke, and Luke comes to my rescue, right? They're going, we have to take him to the hospital. And Luke is going, no, take him to the bar. It's like totally insane, but he was right, because the hospital was just out of the question. I mean, so we slept in the bar there, and the hospital comes to me, and this is what this guy did. This son of a bitch. He did something. He used whatever power he had. The hospital came to me. They came with equipment. They were giving me IVs, checking for my broken spleen with blood pressure. The only thing they didn't give me was a prostate exam. I'm not kidding you. This was like a major scene of people, like, speaking all sorts of Spanish, which I didn't understand.
Right.
And anyhow, I realized about this guy, and we spent a lot of time doing a lot of other things, but I finally got him. I really got him at this point. It's like, he's like this old guy, in this young kid's kind of body.
Yeah.
He's like a dad, and I don't know. This might be true, might not be, but I always felt like he was looking for, for a father figure, somebody fatherlier, And he had a penchant for older actors like me and Bo Hopkins and other people. He really respected us and talked about us on talk shows and things, which people never did.
Yeah.
And I think there was this real fatherly thing to him. I mean, I just couldn't believe how he took over. And I really do believe, thank God he had children, that he was able to express that, and they were able to receive it. And I would imagine even the people on Riverdale, is that the name of the show?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Riverdale?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure he was probably very fatherly there. And that's what I really got, everybody said he's a nice guy. He was a great guy,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he could have been a dick too. Because he's a human being.
Right.
But this quality that I saw in him was just this real fatherly, real caring thing. He had a real sense of care.
Yeah.
So that was our little adventure in Mexico.
All right, man. Thank you so much for popping in, Wings. You have no idea. You can't see this, but everybody is popping with comments. We love you, Wings. We love you, Wings, and what.
You brought so much authenticity to it.
Yeah. Larry says you brought so much authenticity, and that's coming up, and everybody loves you. So let's do like a Jonesy deep dive one day with you, and we'll bring you back when we can figure out the internet and all that stuff. Cool.
Okay, great.
All right, man.
Guys, thank you so much. It was
All right.
a pleasure. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Take care, Wings.
All right, there we go. Wings Hauser. That was pretty exciting. We had to go old school, There was like that scene when he crashes through the window a little bit, right?
Whitmore, Whitmore is an action director. He's been, Whitmore now 25 years later still is working. He's still doing NCISs one after the other. But yeah, and all of a sudden Jonesy just rolls into the window. He just breaks.
That was one of I had two questions for him. One, how many times did he do that stunt?
Right.
No, but I mean, in his whole career, how many times has he gone through glass?
Oh, yes, probably.
Broken glass. That,
probably,
Well, we're talking
the
about
other, that raw egg going into the beer, or the ginger ale, whatever that really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's watch that scene. I want to watch this.
No, I don't think I did, Chuck, because that would just be too repulsive to me.
You go.
So that was the improv. He put his egg in his beer. Yeah, I don't remember right now.
Let's watch this.
Because
all right, you guys have had your fun. What do you say we make a deal?
A deal? I don't think you have any money to make a deal.
And I don't think you want to spend the rest of your life running from the law, do you?
Yo-ho-hee. Pirate life for me?
What are you guys going to do to us?
It depends on how you behave. But I can tell you this, people have disappeared in Punta Brava. Even beautiful women.
We have to get something straight. Valerie says that Jonesy left Punta Brava. Where'd he go, Dylan?
He's right outside.
Now, don't get cute.
Dylan, just tell him the truth.
That is the truth.
I love it, man. I love that.
90210.
We don't have the squealing tires. That's the only thing you need.
I want to know from David, what was it like shooting those scenes? I mean, that's a lot of action-packed stuff that you had to do, and all in one little segment there.
It was a lot of fun. I really wanted to do the sword fight. I fenced in high school, and I thought, oh, this would be great. And I wanted to use the real sword because I thought this will be a real moment, and I'll make it lasting and memorable. And the stunt guy looked at me and said, "Give me the sword." And then he gave me a toy one, a fake one. Because he was afraid I'd kill someone, and he was probably right. But it was fun. Anytime you get to do action, it's back to playing cowboys and Indians, like when you're a kid. Cowboys and Native Americans, I'm sorry. But it really was. Those kinds of scenes, that kind of stuff is just great fun.
Was it fun doing that stuff with Luke and Wings?
I liked working with them both so much. And Wings, I mean, you really can't say it enough. He brings so much life and so much energy to a situation that I think it ups everybody's game in a way. Yeah,
absolutely. I know there's a lot of people asking Noley questions because we haven't seen you in a while. So the one question that keeps popping up, and they just keep asking it, and I'm gonna, I told you that it might come up beforehand, and in season 8 they bring the Erica character back. Did they approach you about this or no?
No, not at all. And I kind of assumed it was because I was significantly older and a prostitute.
Right. Well, wait a second. She didn't play the character. You didn't do the part.
No, they gave it to somebody else. Totally.
Oh, no, I had no idea. Oh, what dopes.
All right.
No,
Sorry.
Yeah. I kind of assumed because in season 5, Dylan was having dreams, and one of his dreams was in a bar, and like all the women were there. I remember, like, I was wearing, like, booty shorts.
It's our fault.
And like dressed like.
I wrote that one.
Yeah. Chuck's responsible for that. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oops. Yep.
I don't think it worked super well.
No.
Like, I was so uncomfortable, and I mean, I was probably still only 13, so I was like, lying on a pool table. It was not a good.
It was supposed to be horror. It was the dreams of Dylan McKay, but it was mostly the horror dreams.
Yeah.
Right.
And, fighting for his soul. So it wasn't anything other than disgust, that you were in it. And I think was that where Tori crawls on top of him in a rubber.
Yeah. We'll go there.
Got to talk to Molly Campbell about that.
We'll go there some other time for sure.
So I don't know. I just kind of assumed, maybe I didn't look prostitute enough.
Right.
So they didn't approach.
You look plenty prostitute. Don't worry. Right, Perrie? She looks prostitute. Right?
Yeah. The other thing that's happening in Hazardous to Your Health, by the way, and we've done a deep dive on this, is with Professor Finley. But rewatching some of that again, Alan Toy is so good in these scenes. Larry, I love you talked with us last time about writing some of the
I had forgot the rough beast. That was another thing that Brandon was a rough beast.
Yeah,
it was another. We have Extern and rough beast and Finley speaking this stuff, which is good.
Well, I think Brandon's a torchbearer, right?
Oh, he's a torchbearer. Yeah, no, that stuff is. I mean, Alan just he goes from like 0 to bitch in like 2 seconds. It's fantastic in this thing.
Yeah.
And of course, Alan, that storyline is pretty scary. It was a nice balance, actually, watching it now.
I have to claim just the only thing I can really claim in this episode, I really feel this, is the fact that Ian announces that he's doing 1 paper for 3 classes, not 1 quarter, 2 quarters at the University of California, Berkeley. Did I expressed what was going to be my inner Steve Sanders and did the exact same thing.
Right.
And all the professors love that. Yeah. 1 paper I wrote for 3 classes.
Yeah.
So
hey,
that's but the one thing we're missing, and we have Perrie here. Did Tiffany ever look better in any episode than she did in this one?
I think she looked amazing in this one. I think her first episode ever was my favorite looks wise. personally. Season 4, very beginning of season 5.
Five.
Yeah.
Right
She
off
has the button open for the jeans. It's the top button
that was
open
her,
on the
that was
jeans.
her thing, as she told me. That was her trend that she set. But she looked beautiful in this episode, and she just looked perfect for the role that she was supposed to be playing, sort of like this low-key temptress. And I know she was supposed to be tempting Kevin, and she looked amazing. And also her acting in this, I thought, more so than her looks, her acting was incredible. I thought she slayed this episode.
Speaking of slaying this episode, Noley, there's all these beautiful, touching scenes with you and Luke, where you see each other again, and there's so much beauty in the words and that were written in the way you performed it. Do you remember doing those scenes with Luke?
Yeah, I remember. I think that was the first scene that we shot that week together, and he was like, I hadn't seen him in a few weeks because there was a bit of a gap. And he was like, "Why are you so big? You changed so much." By the way, who combed out my curly ass hair? Why was that a good thing? I gotta look back on that. Perrie, no comment, okay? That was not a good
I mean, but the hair was so emblematic of the character. Like, truly, it kind of reminded me of Rebecca Gayhart's character. Like, there are certain characters where hair, I mean, I think of young Erica and I think of hair. I think of like all that red hair. I loved it. I just thought it was a lot. It was a lot, but I also had very big curly hair. So, but I loved the character of Erica.
Yeah.
I thought that it was such a welcome addition, and it was so nice to see Dylan like have family and cling to this sense of family, however false it sort of ended up being.
Sure.
But I thought that was such a nice thing for him. It was nice for him.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. I think despite the fact that they stole his money, I still think that Erica and Dylan could have been brother and sister. I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you guys
we got
think?
that cleared up. I think when we cleared it up, I thought there's a line in there which she says, we got to do a Jack McKay shout out in this thing. She says, it's just someone named Jack and he's passed away. So I think we really nailed it. We basically said this really was. She had an affair with Jack McKay, and this was a love child.
It was confirmed.
And also, $8 million, people always ask how much it was. It was $8 million. That's said a couple of times in this episode.
Yeah, and I think if we did it today, we'd go up to 14.
$1 million.
There's a bunch of questions popping in here for Noley. I'm gonna just let some of these people, the fans, get these questions out. But Michelle wants to know, how did Noley like working with Shannon in season 4?
I loved working with Shannon. I liked that she didn't dial it back for me because I was a kid. She just she's pretty frank. She was a lot of fun. I would say one of the best memories I have with Shannon was the season 4 finale. We were there was a carnival, so production set up carnival in the middle of nowhere, and we had that to do for a week. And Luke brought his horses a couple times. That was really fun. So like during lunch, he let me go ride his horse and stuff. But so one night after filming, I was done. They just let us go on rides, and Shannon was the only one that would go on the zipper with me, and they just let it roll. They just, you know what the zipper is?
Yeah,
the one that goes like that and then it spins.
Oh my gosh.
So we did 122 spins on that thing, and we were screaming, and finally we had to stop, but they just let it go. And I have a picture of her and I holding up like the 122. She was fun. She was a lot of fun. I think at the point that I started in season 4, they already knew she was leaving, and everything was, everything was pretty good, pretty smooth. I never saw any issues with any of the women on the show or anything. They were all awesome.
Was Jenny cool with you looking at her in the eye? That was okay? You can make eye contact.
Maybe it was because I was a kid on the set and I wasn't like a 20-something-year-old woman or whatever, but everything that I saw, they were super welcoming and nice. And it was not just with the cast, it was with the crew, production. It was, everybody seemed to get along really well. I never saw any of that.
I believe it. All right. Lisa wants to know, how were the ballet lessons in Mexico? Did you have to do some of that stuff?
I don't think that was very good ballet. That was acting.
I wondered if he did ballet. Yeah, that was my question too.
Nope.
No.
No.
Was it in a toolbox?
A ballerina could probably tell you no. That was not good.
Kristen wants to know what Noli is up to these days.
What am I up to these days? Well, I have 3 kids. So I kind of stopped acting when I was about, I don't know, maybe 16 or something. I wanted to do normal teenage stuff. And then I wanted to go to college. So went to college, went to film school, worked for a few years, and then got married and had 3 kids really young. And now they're getting older. So my youngest just turned 6 this weekend. So I don't know. We'll see what I'm going to do next.
Was it on Luke's birthday or is it a different day?
No, it's a different day. We just were celebrating.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. That was an interesting twist. David, you looked at this episode 25 or so years later. What is your thoughts? Does this episode still hold up?
Yeah, I think going on location helps anything. And it just gave more dimension to the show. So when you cut from something happening in town to being down in Cabo, it just gave more life to the show. And I think it holds up in a lot of ways. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. How about you, Noli? You looked at it for the first time in probably a long time. What do you think of these episodes? They still hold up? Do you still have fond memories of it? Noli?
Okay, you froze. Will you repeat that?
Oh, I said, does the episode still hold up for you all these years later, watching it back? Can you guys?
I think so. I think all of the, looking back on several of the episodes, I think that they all hold up pretty well. Actually, I'm impressed. They're all like cutting edge. That all the stuff that the characters are going through. It's an awesome show.
Yeah, totally.
It's to be on it, yeah.
Perrie, I'm curious for you. You looked at this. I mean, you said it's your favorite episode when we walked into this. You looked back on it again all these years later with the original music. Do you think it still holds up to this day?
Yeah, I think it holds up. I mean, the only problem I ever had with the storyline, to be totally honest, or not problem, but the only question as an adult to rewatch it when I was a kid, of course, but the only thing that never really added up for me was the fact that, this whole scam was put into place by Kevin and Suzanne. And then they go before this episode, but they go into the bank and suddenly, Kevin goes up to Suzanne's car and he's like, it's done. And I don't understand how a bank would allow $8 million to just like vanish.
Yeah.
Just like that. So watching it back, I'm kind of, maybe that's true. I also know nothing about finance.
Go ahead, Chuck. He's got the answer.
He went to a bank where he pre-tipped off the teller. The bank, he knew that if he got it, this would happen. Because yes, you're absolutely right. Or the bank manager or someone, he would have.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and of course, that's exactly what I was thinking in 1994 when Larry and I were beating out the story. No, but that's, I think, if you asked me how he would have done it and really got away with it, he would have taken that step off camera.
Yeah,
I love stuff that comes off camera because could have. You never know.
Yeah.
Chuck, were you aware that this Wings Hauser story that he was totally injured and his sternum was almost crushed in the thing? I wish they never called us. They never called us.
And they were on horses. And I
remember that. I remember they called and said they're going to do the scene on a horse, and we went, great. I mean, yeah, great. I mean,
right. All right, okay.
But him getting hurt like that, we would have been freaking out.
Right.
It was so funny, his impression of shooting on location, how nothing goes right.
Oh yeah.
There's this great line that Wings has about Eric Estrada.
Oh, that was yeah. Well, I Chips was part of my, I worked on Chips, and that was one of my dear memories of the first hit show I worked on. So yeah, I threw that in there. There's a little Chips.
To Eric.
And of course, Eric is really popular in Mexico. So.
Yeah, I think we covered this episode pretty great. Noli and
I got one thing. One thing that I didn't think held up was after this whole shootout, Erica's just lying in her bed in her room. She's locked in her room. She's just lying in her bed. I was like, oh, she's not like hiding underneath the bed.
I think there was something cut. No, there was something that was cut. There was. I looked at that too. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like right. Where's Erica right now? Why isn't she hearing this? And I think there was another scene with the housekeeper or something like that. There was a transition there. That was.
We might have cut it for time. Yeah.
I think so.
That's fair enough.
Let's hope so.
But it is a really touching moment there with you and Luke again. And I almost, I'm curious to Chuck and Larry, was there ever consideration of putting Erica into more things moving forward? Like, was there ever a thought of like, is there a way to get this character to be more of the part of the show as we move forward? Or was it sort of done in Mexico?
Done in Mexico.
Done in Mexico. No, I mean, there was just no place for it. Again, it's she was at that point we're playing her as a 12-year-old girl, a 12-year-old girl.
And by this point in season 5, Luke is on a countdown.
Right.
He knows when his 5 years was going to run out.
Yeah, he probably has already signed for 10 episodes at that point.
7 years, yeah. Well, it ran out on that episode, Larry.
Yeah.
Because remember, he had extra ones. It was off in the beginning.
Right. And then he signed for 10 more for season 6.
Exactly. So that's how it did. I think he gave him a couple extra, and that was it.
Right.
So
it's so fortunate that Luke or that Dylan's mom lived in Hawaii, and that wrapped up really nicely for Erica because that is believable.
She got to live with Dylan's mom. Yeah.
Happy for the character because without that, I'd be like, holy shit, where does Erica end up? Where does she end up? Like, what is happening with Erica? But that was a really nice bow on the character for me.
And it really fits. Noli, you live near the beach. She goes in Hawaii. It was a perfect fit, right?
I'm curious for Noli. We did this fun thing with David where we talked about where Kevin is, and we're certainly not going to ask you to do a video, but what happened to Erica besides the whole prostitute thing? What happened to Erica after she moved to Hawaii?
My version of Erica is she does not grow up to be a prostitute.
No. Yeah.
No.
I don't know. To be honest, I leave that up to the voters.
Yeah, there you go. Good answer.
I think she would be like a Ricky, some kind of with Iris McKay. She would be some kind of with that influence. She probably would be some kind of a yoga, involved in that, and have a business like that, and very well thought of in new age things.
For sure.
And collecting sea glass.
Still to this day. Noli and David, we'd love to have you guys back for future episodes, especially you, Noli. I think there's a bunch more things that we can cover down the line with you. So I'm going to say goodbye to Noli and David, and then we're going to talk about what's happening in the future of the coming weeks. Now, next week, right, we're going to be talking about all things Halloween, because that's coming up upon us. So Chuck, what are we going to talk about? We're talking a season 2 storyline, right?
Season 2, and it was I watched it last night, took a lot of notes, so I'm ready to talk about that one. I remember it really clearly. I think we also maybe should show the difference, Pete, show a few scenes from Halloween that we did in season 5.
Yeah.
Show the look of 2 different, how we molested pumpkins in 2 different episodes.
Sure.
Bald pumpkins, I should say.
Yeah, definitely.
So that would be doing that one.
And then following week, Larry and I have got Paige Moss coming by.
It's Halloween too.
Right. Yeah.
It's Halloween too. We got the stalker, Kelly Stalker, who played Tara. Paige Moss, and that should be pretty interesting to hear her take on things.
So a couple of really good episodes. Before we leave, Chuck, we talked about the Jessica Alba thing. There's another thing that popped up. This was like 90210 gossip week for whatever reason. There's this Dean Cain story about that. I feel like everybody throws bullets at Shannon enough, and Dean Cain threw something at Shannon about she got the storyline changed because she didn't want a guest star to break up with her. This story is floating around. Do you have a comment on Dean Cain's story? Is there any validity to that storyline that Dean has created?
Not only is there no validity to that, there's very little validity to Dean Cain.
There you have it. So that's the answer to that topic. Yeah.
He was not.
He was not
a production favorite. He was not. Listen, he got to do Superman, and that was his grade, and it put him in the firmament and everything. But he never really took the courses with Stanislavski, and this really was not who he is. Clearly, he's a press operative for somebody.
Somebody else. Yeah, that's right.
It always could be a kissing problem too. You have to remember.
One day we'll go there, but we're not going there soon. All right, Perrie, I thought this was fun. Did you have fun on your first walk through the park here of the Beverly Hills 90210 show?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Thanks for being here, Perrie.
No problem.
Nice to have you.
I'm glad that I got to jump right in with Kevin and Suzanne because I love those two characters. Always did.
Now, are we going to all dress up in costumes next week?
No.
No, it's not happening.
No.
I'm sorry we didn't have James Whitmore jump in because he's such a terrific director. He really, this episode wouldn't have felt like that at all without James there and hearing his take on stuff.
Well, I've asked him. I'm going to reach out again. Maybe you can help me with that, Larry and Pete.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure he'll definitely be jumping back.
His work in Child is the Father and the Man, because it is that same, kind of FBI sensibility that he can bring to things.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be really primed to do that. I'm sure he felt bad. I mean, Pete. He sent Pete a really nice email about it. He watched the episode. He prepared for it. He loved the episode, and he got delayed.
Just Ryan Weaver says, "Good job, Perrie." So I thought that was a very nice comment. I just want to also say one more.
Ryan.
There you go.
First fan letter.
Also say I want everyone to know we definitely tried to get Shannon to come on the Super Show. I saw that comment multiple places, and listen, guys, it's a sensitive topic. Shannon is ill and fighting an illness, and I don't want to be too over the top persistent on trying to get her to do something that maybe she doesn't want to participate. She's got a lot of things that are going on with her, and let's just focus on trying to get Tiffany Thiessen to the show.
That's exactly right. He's a bulldog, and if he backs off on somebody, you got to give Pete some props.
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise we wouldn't be having Kathleen showing up.
Yes,
I'm going to say Kathleen, November 11th.
November 11th, Kathleen Robertson. We didn't even get to mention that.
The countdown to that.
Man, Claire Arnold show, boy.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fun.
All right, guys, this was great. It's always fun having you guys together and doing this. Next week, Halloween. I'm super excited for it. So we will see you guys next week. And who knows what will happen in 90210 land?
Chuck, what was the final score?
15-1 Dodgers.
Wow, there you go.
Look out, Atlanta. Look out, Atlanta. That's all I can say.
All right, later, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Perrie. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.